Here comes the clouds, it seems like. Still a lot of sunlight though, at least. And what I read today. A lot of different variety of stuff I read today, but how about this first one, which is kind of weird. As you know, there's a lot of hysteria with things like drones, and apparently there are people faking drones per se in order to scare people, and they're being warned. Like, what is going on here? This one says, Yogi warns NSA Gangster Act for illegal drone use, spreading rumors. UPCM Yogi Adityanath has warned that individuals operating drones without official permission or spreading rumors and misinformation about them to create panic will be prosecuted under the Gangster Act, and in serious cases, the National Security Act will also be invoked. He instructed senior officials to step up district-wide drone surveillance, strengthening patrol, and ensure all violations are dealt with firmly. The directive comes amid a series of mob attacks triggered by false claims of thieves using drones to scout homes they target in western UP. During a review meeting with the senior police officers, Yogi said that unauthorized use of unmanned aerial vehicles was banned in the state and many misuse would attract legal action. He added drone misuse would not be tolerated. And here's the weird thing, where apparently at times it's not even a drone. People are faking it, I guess, just to scare people. It says, there have also been several arrests of, quote, drone rumor suspects in Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, Ghaziabad, and Bareilly, along some of those involved in, quote, mob attacks. In the latest such case, in Muzaffarnagar, 3 persons were held for allegedly using pigeons fitted with LED lights in the night sky to mimic drone activity and purportedly spread fear. On Saturday night, a 55-year-old mentally challenged person roaming in a village in the district was targeted by locals. 3 men were later arrested. That is crazy. Attaching LEDs to pigeons, if that's true anyways, is there just that much of a hysteria? I mean, if I saw a drone out in the open, my first thought would be, okay, who is it? Is there somebody flying for fun, for example? My first thought wouldn't be, for example, oh no, it's a bomb or something like that, but I guess there's different cultures where they perceive things differently too, huh? Although, I guess it's not too far off here anyways, where a lot of people fear-monger it too. And according to this anyways, they're having a lot of problems because people are spreading it online and so forth too, to invoke that fear. I don't know, to me, it's just a quote tool. Like, it needs context before you start freaking out like everything else. You don't just look at a car, for example, in an area and say, uh-oh, it's a terrorist or a gangster driving that car. What crazy times we live in. Although this was kind of interesting, as apparently there was a drone going through a typhoon of sorts. That's what it says here. It says China's Albatross drone boat makes history with dual typhoon eye penetrations. Zhejiang University's 4.3-meter Albatross drone boat made history on June 13th by becoming China's first autonomous vessel to actively navigate through the eye of the typhoon butterfly, recording unprecedented atmospheric and wave data. That is kind of cool, as they show all these videos and stuff of it too. I know there's been often those other drone boats per se that go through things like hurricanes and all that. It says the red line marks the path of the typhoon's shifting center, while the black lines show our Albatross drone's actual trajectory. At dawn on June 13th, these paths converged. For about 30 minutes before and after penetration, we recorded completely reversed wind directions with extreme velocity changes. So that's kind of cool as tech evolves, and again, it's just a tool in my opinion. It depends on how people use it. And in terms of, I guess, things that are revolutionary of sort, how about this one, where apparently this was a world record, where there was a frozen embryo that actually resulted in a live birth. So apparently a couple from Ohio welcomed their son, Thaddeus Daniel Pierce, on July 26, 2025, and it was from a frozen embryo in 1994, which sets a record for the longest frozen embryo resulting in a live birth, so 11,148 days. I know I read about this stuff before, where a lot of people, they do that because they want to delay giving birth to kids until later in life, or there are those who unfortunately can't have children. That's what seems to be the case here, because apparently they were struggling with infertility for about 7 years. They adopted the embryo through the Snowflakes Embryo Adoption Program from Linda Archard, who created apparently 4 embryos via IVF in 1994. And it says one embryo became Archard's daughter, now 30, while the others were cryopreserved. Of the 3 donated embryos, 1 failed to thaw, but 1 successfully implanted in Lindsay, leading to Thaddeus' birth. And it says the procedure was handled by Rejoice Fertility in Tennessee, led by Dr. John Gordon, who emphasized giving every embryo a chance at life. And it says the peers are not aiming to break records. They're just thrilled, for example, that they had a, quote, chill baby who resembles Archer's daughter. And Archer hopes to meet the family someday. So that's kind of crazy. 30 years. Now, there are questions, of course, whether or not the baby's healthy. And according to all the stuff I read, they said it doesn't matter how long you freeze the embryo, as long as everything was good and healthy from the get-go, then it's the same. It doesn't matter if it's 1 day or 1,000 years or something like that. I'm just exaggerating, but that's kind of what they implied. So what would you think of this? Because I know this topic is often a sketchy one, especially when it comes to trying to, quote, I guess you could say, play God. But at the same time, I guess you could say this isn't a situation of people trying to manipulate how the child is born in terms of traits and features. For example, if you want a child with a certain hair color, then you're gonna mix this up and so forth. So that's kind of different, but what would you think of this anyways? And this video is going viral online, generating a lot of controversy, as apparently in the US, there's a hotel where there's no actual live front desk people per se, at least in person. Instead, you have to interact with somebody through a screen. And that's what generated the controversy, is because apparently this person you're talking to is offshore. You'd often heard of that, for example, when you phone in companies or customer service, they're actually located elsewhere, like let's just say India or something like that. And that's the claim here, that the people are talking to a virtual clerk from India. So you can see this first.
Okay.
You need 1 room key or 2 room key?
2, just in case I lose one.
Yes, I will just make this for you. Just help me with your signature, what it says guest signature. Let me just process your room registration form.
Please wait while we process your registration form.
Alright, sir. I will just process your room receipt, which contains all the property.
Now, I would imagine the reason they do this is to cut costs, where if you don't have to pay someone local, like in American dollars and so forth, then it would be a lot cheaper to operate, especially if you're just checking them in and so forth. But at the same time, it's generating a lot of controversy about whether or not that's correct in terms of people not supplying jobs in that way locally. Like, what would you say in this case? I guess the other perspective would be, can you imagine this in the future where there will be no one in general? It would just be an AI generated bot, for example, talking to you in that way. I wouldn't doubt that would be the case if it's all about cutting costs and so forth. But yeah, what do you think of the thought of using offshore people to greet you in a hotel and check you in? Imagine going to something like a McDonald's and you're greeted on the screen and it's actually someone that's offshore as well in this manner. Alright, see you guys later.